All right, good evening, and welcome to the District of Seashell regular council meeting. It is Wednesday, October 6th, and I'd like to acknowledge that we are coming to you from the territory of the Seashell Nation. So we have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. So we have two delegations with us this evening. Our first delegation is Anne Crowley and Lana Zanazowski. They are residents on Boulevard, and they'd like to speak to us about the Boulevard. So, Lana and Anne, welcome. You turn on your video.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you turn on your video as well, please?
Yep.
Thank you, Lana and Anne.
Yeah, I'm trying to start my video. I don't know why it's not there. There it is again. Good.
All right. So over to you. So we have about 10 minutes for you, so take it away.
All right, so I'm going to try to keep this very brief. So my name is Anne Crowley. I've owned the residence at 5766 Boulevard for about a little over 30 years. So this problem, as I'm sure all of you know, probably needs no introduction, but I will go through it very briefly, just for anybody else who might be tuning in. So the current situation is that Boulevard is a one block street on the waterfront of Seashell. And there's been many problems for many years in terms of pedestrians, parking, and traffic. So at the moment, there's one-way traffic on Boulevard. And then there is a huge amount of pedestrian traffic on Boulevard, which really has nowhere to go. And also at this moment, there is parking on Boulevard as well. So the current situation right now is really getting worse and worse and worse, which is why we felt we needed to address Mayor and Council. It's becoming very dangerous in that there is a huge increase in the number of pedestrians, bikers, strollers, walkers, wheelchairs, et cetera, on the Boulevard, and there is nowhere for them to go. There's also a constant source of parked cars, and also many people that were staying overnight over the summer as well on the street. So that's the situation that exists right now. Lana has provided you, I think, with some pictures that, help to illustrate some of the things that we're going to talk about. So the current problems as we see it are, and I'm going to go through them as the least important and down to the most important. So the first one is the road surface, and the road surface is very, very, very poor. There's a lot of potholes. It's very rough. So even people that are walking, it's a bit of a hazard, really. There's, and driving, luckily, you have to go very slow anyways because of all the people on the road. So the road surface is, badly in need of some repair. But the next problem is the crowding, and there is just a huge number of people that walk and stroll and take their dogs and wheelchairs and that sort of thing. So sometimes in the summer, it looks like Stanley Park. It's so crowded, and for good reason. It's a beautiful place to walk. The next problem that we see is the population, which is aging rapidly on the Sunshine Coast. And so many people are infirm or walking with walkers, walking with wheelchairs, trying to enjoy the Boulevard, but that's very difficult. The next two problems are the most important ones, and the first one I'm going to address is the parking. So the parking problem includes the people that are parking there and idling their vehicles. In the summertime, it's to run their AC. In the wintertime, it's to run their heaters. So they're sitting in their cars, looking out, which is a lovely thing to do, but it's creating pollution. It's creating unnecessary, effect on the people that are walking there, and somewhat noise as well. So the parking also obstructs the people from actually enjoying the view, which is why they're out there walking, because oftentimes they can't see past the parked cars. So, and they can't get close to the water because the parked cars are between the water and where the people are walking. Sorry about that. Sorry, hang on. And the next most serious problem is actually the danger to the pedestrians. Danger from the people that are now driving electric cars. The people don't hear them coming up from behind them. The people attempting to back out of their driveway with really nowhere to go. And the people that are parking create another obstacle for the people that are walking along there. So quite a lot of danger. And I've seen some, and I'm sure Alana will attest to this, some near serious accidents on this situation. The residents are having, as I mentioned, a very difficult time getting out of their driveway because of A, the pedestrians, and B, the parked cars that are there. I also mentioned earlier that we noticed a real increase in the number of people that were parking vans and trucks and that sort of thing, and actually staying overnight. And obviously there's no bathroom facilities, so that's really, really totally unacceptable. So the next problem is the pedestrian access. So there's people walking, there's people with dogs on leash, there's strollers, there's small children, there's wheelchairs, there's elders walking with canes or walkers, there's joggers, and there's tourists. And all these people are really forced to walk down the middle of the street because there really is nowhere to go. There's one little section where you could walk on the grass, but it doesn't go very far. So really the people have to walk on the street. So as the traffic is increasing, it's becoming more and more dangerous. Oh, hang on here, sorry. Okay. So what we feel is that an immediate solution needs to be found, that we're well aware that Council had proposed a rather extravagant development of the boulevard, but that, even if it was accepted today, wouldn't even start until 2026. And really the situation is far too dangerous to let it go on for that long. So some of the things that we feel would be an immediate solution is to immediately close all the parking on Boulevard. I think it's an absolute necessity. Somebody is going to be hurt, and it's a problem on so many different levels. Always, we can see that there's always parking spaces available at either end of Boulevard. Those parking places, as far as I've ever seen, have never been filled up. So, really people can park on the side and get out of their cars and walk, which is the healthy and sustainable thing to do in 2021. The other thing that needs to be done immediately is to partition the street to pedestrian and vehicle traffic. This was done about 4 years ago, and it was very successful. People accepted it. It was done as a trial. I, for one, said to Council that this was a great idea. Let's make a permanent solution. And I didn't run into anybody that felt that wasn't a good solution. And the third thing is to begin immediate planning through the Council and to find a permanent solution based on a rather probably a very inexpensive solution, which is to pave and repair the road, make it a one-way street, and create a nice sidewalk, pedestrian esplanade for pedestrians. And this wouldn't take a lot of money. It could be done very nicely. It would be a gem in Seashell's, tourist. It's because it's such a lovely place to walk, and it wouldn't be a huge project to have to do. And then we could still maintain those green spaces down towards the restaurant end of the street with a couple picnic tables. We could maybe install some benches, but it wouldn't need to be a huge project. But I really think that something, and everybody seems to think that, something needs to be done now, as the pressure on this area will continue to grow, especially with the development in Seashell and the perhaps proposed development behind Boulevard. There's going to be an increasing number of people that need to get outside, they need to get exercise, and they need to be able to enjoy the waterfront as for the reason they probably live here. There's one other thing I was going to say. Okay, let me just get my notes here, see if there's something I've forgotten. Oh, yes, that I think that some of the positive things are the roundabouts that the village of Seashell have created. Those work really well. All traffic seems to be able to go up and turn around quite easily, and they're safe. The pedestrians can walk around there without any danger to themselves. So that I think the roundabouts are great. Perhaps the roundabouts could have a bit of beautification in the middle, but you know, by and large, they're really a real improvement on the area. And the other thing that I think bears mentioning is that in terms of creating a solution here, I think that we need to keep in mind the fact that we do get storms on the boulevard, and there are some quite violent storms sometimes, and probably with climate change we might see more and more of these storms coming along. So in order to not create a situation that's going to require a lot of repairs, simplicity is probably the best way to go. To create a nice esplanade, to create a road with one-way traffic, and I think that could be a very doable project without, you know, unnecessarily burdening the taxpayer with a huge expenditure. So I thought I would just introduce my partner delegate, Lana, and if you have any questions for Lana, Lana might just speak to the petition that she created earlier this summer. So Lana.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for letting us speak our mind. And basically, myself and Anne, we're representing the residents here on the boulevard. And you probably, I don't know if you got the paperwork, but we have collected the petition in response to that funding that you were applying for. But this is just to give you an idea of what people are looking for, what are they would like to see it here. And Anne mentioned all of the points that were discussed in the petition, and we had over 170 signatures. And this was accumulated maybe over just 2 weeks, only a couple of days in a week that we went out and collected signatures. I'm sure if we go out there again, we'll collect more. And I know your time is precious. I just wanted to go over the photos that I have collected just throughout the summer. And the few things also, maybe you will notice people wearing jackets also in the fall. How can I walk you through the photos? Do you want me just to mention them, or do you have that in front of you?
I think maybe, Lana, we could just open it up to discussion if anybody, because the mayor and council all have the photos. So if they have any questions about the photo or the petition or anything that we've said, they could perhaps we could open it up to discussion at this point.
So basically, the photos are demonstrating a very large amount of traffic being parked on the boulevard, and then you can see people walking at the same time. You can see vehicle driving behind people. There another photograph that actually shows people pushing somebody on a stroller, and there's a vehicle driving behind them. At the same time, you can see there's a vehicle driving on the road, and there's a fellow with a stroller is forced to walk on the grass instead of walking on a nice smooth pavement. The other photo we have, again, a lot of vehicles are parking, and you can see there's a lady there just near one of the vehicles, almost got struck by one of the cars from behind. So she had to really kind of almost blend in with the vehicle parked on the side there. People do not park in a straight line. You can see they all parked in a weird way. Some of them are sticking out with the rear ends butting out. So people who live on the boulevard, they cannot pull into their driveways because the vehicles are not parking like very nicely and straight. Whichever way they want it, they'll park it at the angle, they park it at the perpendicular way. And there is another photo that I have here. On several occasions, this is just one of the occasions that I was able to catch this. There's a lady who just went the wrong way and parked it just the way she wants it, the opposite, facing the opposite direction of the flow. And this is just like very small sample of photos that I was able to collect based on, I still have a life beyond this, but this happens not just daily, this happens hourly. This is like hourly, every single day occurrences. And I haven't been able to take some pictures in the summer when there are kids running on that promenade and chasing a ball, or a dog is chasing a ball, or they're on the bikes. There's also moms with strollers, with several strollers, and they have to get off the road somehow. But if that road is blocked by all the parked vehicles, they have nowhere to go except just use the driving lane, or actually have to get out of the way and go into the private properties on the boulevard here. And maybe another point to mention is the refuse.
Lana, I'm gonna interrupt you here. I think council has all of the pictures and the petition. We have all of that here. Now, as you know, we did apply for a grant to do some work on the boulevard. We were not successful in getting that grant.
Mhm.
So I think what we need to do is refer this to staff to investigate. You know, as Ann said, we'd have to look at what would the cost be, and then how could we potentially budget for making the changes and the improvements on the boulevard. At this point, I mean, the timing is perfect. I mean, I think that's why we requested you come and speak to us now, because we are just going into our budget process. So that's starting right now. So this would be something that we would then refer to staff. You know, they will have a better idea of what the costs are, and could come back to us with a proposal or a ballpark of what it would actually cost for council consideration.
Just to give you the idea of what it is here on a daily basis, so you know.
Yes.
You know.
I think we're, like, all of us, this has been something that's been on our radar for a number of years. I think we're very aware of that, and I mean, it's nice to get your perspective and bringing that to council. So I'm going to turn to council and ask if there are any questions.
Okay.
Okay. Any councillors, any questions? Councillor McLean.
Yeah, not so much a question, more so a comment. I just wanted to thank you for putting together this petition. I know it's a lot of work, and I know that the current design of Boulevard is not serving everyone's needs. I think this is a real gem of our community that we can really improve. It's unfortunate that we didn't get the grant. I think the design proposed through the grant was a ideal solution. But now we're probably going to need to look at what comes from tax money. So I hope to continue a conversation with you to figure out how we can come up with a more economical solution that will be funded by taxpayers at the District of Seashell. And I look forward to having those conversations in the budget process over the next few months.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
No, we're good.
Okay.
As long as we got our point across, we got our say. I hope we'll get something going on next year.
Okay, thank you. I'd look to council then to accept the delegation materials and refer those to staff.
Mayor Seegers?
Yes?
Mayor Seegers, could I just also ask you, when you do go to council, if they could address the immediate solutions too, that I think that we need, because really it is a dangerous situation. And, you know, I fear that there could be some liability with the situation the way it is right now. There are some, you know, some quite dangerous situations that we see quite often.
Okay, so that'll staff will have to come back to us with, you know, how we would actually address those.
Okay.
So I'd look
Thank
for
you
a
very
motion. I'd look for a motion to refer this to staff, accept and refer to staff. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Ann and Lana. And we'll walk through this goes forward. Yes, Councillor Todd.
I didn't get an opportunity to speak to this, so I just want to register a vote against it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anything further? Thank you. We're going to move on to our second delegation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second delegation is Tressa Logan with the Seashell Downtown Business Association, and she is speaking to the Business Improvement Area Bylaw. Welcome, Tressa.
Thank you, Mayor Seegers and Council. I won't take up too much of your time, as you all are very familiar with the BIA. And so what I'll do is I'll just read you a little brief letter that I put together that I have sent to landowners in the downtown BIA area. So people depend on the downtown Seashell for various activities such as shopping, playing, meeting, interacting with others, and relaxing. Streets that are able to attract people have been associated with economic growth, personal safety, physical health, and a sense of community. Thus, the SDBA is asking for council and mayor support in renewing the BIA for 2022 to 2026 for a 5-year term, so that we, the SDBA and my board of directors, can continue to create a vibrant and thriving downtown. And I would just like to add a couple of projects that we have worked on in the time that I've been executive director with the SDBA, which includes the new micro grant program, which helps businesses with patios or murals or things that directly relate to their shops. The succession and exit strategy pilot program, where we assisted businesses in helping to sell their business, either that to their current staff or posting it online for sale. And we were able to sell one business, and a couple have received offers since we started the program. We've been successful in the Seashell Garden Club partnering with us and helping to beautify downtown. And we have great support from the Seashell Rotary Dinner Club, who have, of course, helped build our parklets, installed and disassembled. And we hope that that's something we can continue year round, as well as our partnership with the Rain City Vancouver Coastal Health Community Action Team for the BEAP Straight to the Point program, which we are eagerly starting hopefully in the next month here, where we are working with those who face barriers in our community to help clean up downtown Seashell, take a sense of pride in their community, and help businesses help reduce the stigma for those living on the streets or in Rain City and other supportive housing. So I think the BIA has gone above and beyond what a typical BIA does. Yes, of course, we do events. We just had a very successful Oktoberfest this past month. And we have the Festival of Lights Parade, which we do every year. We have our new shop hop. We have the Bright Nights. And of course, our Taste of Seashell, and then work in partnership for Canada Day. And we are looking to do another major event downtown Seashell in August. And hopefully that will be an annual event. So I believe the BIA is beneficial for our downtown businesses. I have a great support system with our downtown businesses. I think many of them, and I can't speak for them, but I know many of our businesses are very supportive of the BIA and do believe that we are doing something to improve their business, whether it's business support programs, whether it's beautification, or just revitalization, you know, working with the district, ensuring the cost of benches and getting benches built by the Rotary in front of the BMO. And of course, we have some mural projects that are coming up in the spring of 2022 with Sunshine Coast Arts Council. So I think we've come a long way, and you know, everything's changing. We have our demographics changing, and so we have to just I have to be aware of the needs of our businesses as well as our community. And I just hope council supports another 5-year term for the SDBA. And thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them.
Thank you. Council, any questions of Tressa Logan? Councillor McLean.
Yeah, thank you. I believe you already discussed some of my question already, but what this is proposed is essentially property owners are deciding to tax themselves, is what this structure is. So for me, from council, I just see this as a forwarding opportunity. Yes, we play a role, but at the end of the day, it's property owners who make this decision. And recognizing that this is a public meeting and there may be property owners, I was wondering if I could just hear your 30-second pitch for why property owners should be supporting this.
My 30-second pitch. Okay.
No pressure.
Well, I find it quite interesting that there's a difference between property owners and business owners. And unfortunately, I think the system is a bit strange where we have landowners that many don't even live in our downtown communities. So I support the businesses, and the businesses see the results and the benefits of people coming to visit their shops. I support the landlords in beautification, getting people to move into vacant storefronts, and working with the community to do events to bring more people to Seashell, where they will invest and property goes up, as we've all seen that. And that's not a result, I'm not taking, saying that that's what the BIA is doing, but it's definitely helping by improving our downtown. People want to live here, people want to shop here, people want to stay here. And that is a benefit to the landlord because their property value goes up. Working with the district to do the wharf improvement project, I think that's pretty impressive that we got over $600,000 to create a safe sidewalk and more space and a more attractive space for landowners so that they benefit directly. But mostly it's the benefits, it's the businesses that I want to support. The landowners are a piece of it if they do own a business, but I depend on the businesses to support me through letting their landlords know that they are being supported in a way that is benefiting them. So I guess in a roundabout way, the BIA definitely helps landlords because their businesses get to stay and pay their leases if the landlords don't actually own the business, and improves their property value, as well as makes Seashell a place where people want to invest.
I think you passed.
Yeah, well done.
Sorry.
All right, Counsel, any further questions? Councillor McLean.
I'm going to go with one more of a similar vein, and then I'll be done.
Okay.
So once again, I want to ask this on behalf of property owners, and I just want to use this opportunity in a public forum. So this bylaw is essentially very similar to the previous one. So I'm just wondering if there was a critical review of the bylaw and thinking about what you can do better, and is this the best possible version of the bylaw that you are presenting to property owners?
Personally, it is not the best version. I think, as I had mentioned earlier, it's a bit flawed in that the businesses are ultimately the ones paying for the BIA because that is passed down through their leases. So to me, it would make more sense for the businesses to be the ones saying, to having the vote. But that is a huge process. And through COVID and our board of directors being very busy trying to run their businesses, we've discussed, do we open a can of worms and create a new bylaw?
I think, Tressa, part of what you're addressing is how legislatively it can be done. And legally, we can't do that.
Exactly.
Right? So while you might want to have, do more work with the businesses to maybe impact or sway the building owners, they really don't have a vote. The businesses don't have a vote.
No.
And there's no way to change that because legislatively it's based on assessment and owners.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I understand.
So we're keeping it as is. It works. It's not in my perfect world, it would be completely different. However, things that can be improved is maybe having more opportunity. And given the contact information of landlords, it's this cat and mouse game of having to find out who the landlords are, and they change, and no one seems to know who buys buildings. And I'm not made aware of the system. Joanne's been very helpful with business licenses, so I can find out who's even moving in. So I think there's improvements to be made in record keeping, but I don't see how we could make or improve the system to make it fair, because I think right now the tiered system works well. And Matt, kudos to you for creating it, and Alton being on the board when you had done that as well. So businesses or landlords seem to think it's fair, and so we're going to continue with that.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, thank you, Tressa, and you'll probably be staying around to hear what happens as we address this going forward in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have two proclamations this evening. The first one is Foster Family Month for October 2021. Whereas this year marks the 31st year of celebrating the caregivers who have stepped up time and time again when they are needed most, and whereas thousands of British Columbian foster parents and families provide alternate family care for children temporarily unable to live with their families, and whereas foster families are an integral and valued part of the team that helps children return to their families, live with extended family, or make the transition to an adoptive family, and whereas Indigenous foster families support Indigenous children to learn about and practice their Indigenous traditions, customs, and language, and belong to their Indigenous community, and whereas foster families from diverse cultural backgrounds support all children and youth to maintain their cultural heritage, learn about and practice their cultural traditions, customs, and language, and belong to their community, and whereas fostering is a community responsibility and provides opportunities for all community members to contribute to the support of children and youth, now, therefore, I, Darnella Seegers, on behalf of the District of Seashell Council, do hereby proclaim that the month of October 2021 shall be known as Foster Family Month in the District of Seashell. Second proclamation is Waste Reduction Week, October 18th to 24th, 2021. Whereas Waste Reduction Week in Canada is intended to raise awareness about waste and its environmental and social impacts, and the theme, Too Good to Waste, is meant to draw attention to the richness and diversity of the natural world and the importance of working towards ecological sustainability through waste avoidance and resource conservation. And whereas as individuals and as a society, we must continue to endeavor to conserve our resources, protect our environment, and recognize the impact solid waste and needless waste of water have on our environmental sustainability. Now, therefore, I, Darnella Seegers, on behalf of the District of Seashell Council, do hereby proclaim that the week of October 18th through 24th, 2021 shall be known as Waste Reduction Week in the District of Seashell. So moving on, adoption of minutes of previous council meetings. We have item 5.1, it's minutes of the 7 p.m. regular council meeting of September 8th, 2021. So first, are there any errors or omissions in the minutes? Not seeing any. I'd look for a motion to adopt these minutes. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Item 5.2, minutes of the 3 p.m. special council meeting of September 22nd, 2021. First, any errors or omissions in these minutes? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to adopt. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? All right, seeing none. Moving on to receipt of committee and commission minutes and reports. Item 7.1, Advisory Planning Commission meeting minutes of September 7th, 2021, and this is for receipt. Look for a motion to receive. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Then item 7.2, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of September 22nd, 2021, and this is for receipt and endorsement. So first, are there any errors or omissions in these minutes? All right, not seeing any errors or omissions. I'd look for a motion to receive and endorse the minutes. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Moving into bylaws. Item 8.1A, this is the Downtown Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 599-2021. Before we go into this bylaw, I'd look for a motion to receive all the reports and correspondence. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. All right, Corporate Officer, over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The purpose of this report is to bring forward Downtown Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 599-2021 for Council's consideration of first, second, and third readings and to provide information to council on the next steps for implementation of a new business improvement area as requested by the Seashell Downtown Business Association. At its September 8th regular meeting, council considered a letter that it had received from the Seashell Downtown Business Association requesting that council proceed with a new business improvement area bylaw. The previous bylaw expired this year in July, and the SDBA has requested that council bring forward a new one. So council passed a resolution on September 8th directing staff to prepare the appropriate bylaw to bring forward for consideration. In my report, on the top of page 46, I set out the statutory requirements in order to set up a business improvement area, local service area. And then I also summarize, besides the statutory requirements that must be in the bylaw, I also summarize what the SDBA have requested be included. They were set out at council's last meeting as well, but just to summarize, because the bylaw will be coming forward, so just to summarize that, the bylaw being presented to you for consideration would come into effect in 2022 for a 5-year term. It will have SDBA is suggesting that it have a different maximum annual requisition amount each year to allow for very gradual increases for cost of living. And the bylaw sets out what those maximums are each year. The SDBA proposes that the BIA boundary remain at what it was in the previous bylaw that has expired. And as Tressa sort of indicated earlier in her presentation, the bylaw also proposes that the local area service tax be collected under a tiered system based on the number of active business licenses associated with each of the parcels. In terms of the actual petition against process, the petition against, again, is a provision under the community charter, and the community charter provides for the petition against to be carried out. So if council gives 3 readings to the bylaw, the next steps are to mail out a copy of the public notice and a copy of the petition counter petition that would have to be filled out. Copies go to all the property owners within the business improvement area. We are also required to put ads in 2 consecutive weeks of the local newspaper. And the proposed schedule that staff is proposing for BIA bylaw implementation is, if the bylaw gets 3 readings tonight by council, we would place the first ad in the newspaper on October 29th and the second one on November 5th. We would mail the notices out to everyone starting on October 25th. And then there's a 30-day petition period. So counting through that, we would have the deadline for counter petitions to be received on December 7th. And then we would take a report forward to council as soon as possible thereafter. Under policy implications, in the middle of page 47 of my report, we've outlined for you what the estimated property levy would be for 2022 based on this business license tiered system. I will note it is an estimate because we're using 2021 business licenses that were issued. So, you will find by next year that might not be quite exactly right. But I forgot to mention, one of the big changes to this bylaw compared to the last one was that this bylaw includes, under this tiered system, it includes a charge for properties that have no business license associated with it. So you'll see on that table that we say 0 to 1 business licenses will pay 100% of the cost of a business license, and then tiered from there on from 2 to 5 and onward. As was already mentioned, but just to be clear, in terms of financial implications, other than the staff time involved to set this up and to do the collection and all of that, there are actually no financial implications to the district because this is simply a collect and then write a check collect from all the property owners in the boundary and then write a check to the SDBA. And that's my report. If you have any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councillor McLean?
Yeah, just given the change to apply for, having this bylaw apply for properties with no business licenses, would that include residential properties within the boundary?
Through you, Your Worship, no. Under the legislation, only properties within the BIA boundary that are Class 6 under BC assessments classes will be charged this levy, or be mailed the notice that everybody will get, only to commercial properties. Thank you.
Thank you. I noticed attachment 1. So this is a sample of what the business owners would get. Is that correct? Because it says notice of intention to adopt downtown business. It's only, going to owners of properties within the boundaries. So they would get this, and then also the form or whatever, okay.
Also, Your Worship, I forgot to mention, but the SDBA has also prepared a letter that they have asked that we put in the envelope as well, and we have said, yes, we would do that. So it's not from us, it's from them, but so everybody will get in their package, they will get this notice that's attached, the petition, and information from the SDBA on this proposed service.
Thank you. Council, any further questions or comments? Councillor Scott and then Councillor Toth.
Yeah, what happens with property that's delinquent in their taxes? Is that money withheld until it's finally paid?
Go to our Chief Financial Officer.
Yeah, it's basically the same process that happens with regular taxation. The amount is paid out, and after December 31st, if it's still outstanding, the district would charge interest on the outstanding amounts of taxes, including the BIA. And then if that continued on till it went to delinquent, then that property would go through the tax sale.
Thank you. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. My apologies. I meant to ask this question while we had Tressa with us, but seeing the chart here for what the estimated levy is going to be for 2022, rough numbers, just wondering what the 100% rate is as of this year.
I think the 100% rate this year is the same as it was for last year. There was no increase. Is that correct for this year? Because it's 70,000 initially, which is what it was last year.
No, because it's based on the number of business licenses that are within the district, right? So,
Your Worship, through you, it's in the previous bylaw. We can come back with that information to you. I don't have it in front of me, but what I do know, it was 400 and something for one business license. It's about at least $50. It'll be at least $50, but it might even be more, less than what they have been paying with the previous bylaw. I recall that, which shows that we, must be have issued more business licenses than we did 5 years ago. But I do know that it's higher than what it will be next year, but I can't remember exactly, but I can provide you that tomorrow.
The other piece is the buildings with 0 business licenses will also pay, which will reduce the amount for all the others as well.
Correct.
Okay, I get your question. What you're saying is what is the 100%? And it will change year to year, I believe, would it not? Depending on the number.
It should, for sure. Yeah, the 2022 rate here is estimated at 382.62. I was just, for reference, wondering what it was for this year, but yeah.
Okay.
I want to say it was something like 440, but I can double check tomorrow and send that to you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this? Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I'll just jump in with a quick comment. I mentioned this before, but I essentially see this as a procedural process. At the end of the day, the property owners are making this decision via petition. The one question that Council has is whether this should be a petition for or a petition against. So both are options under the community charter, I believe. However, I support this option for petition against, given that this has been practiced in the past several years, And given that this bylaw is largely the same as the previous bylaw, which was largely the same as the previous, going back all the way to, 1996, I think, there's been very marginal changes every 5 years or so. So what we are looking for is there a large amount of discontent? And that's what a petition against really evaluates. So I'm going to go ahead and move recommendation 2, that council proceed with giving first, second, and third readings to District of Seashell Downtown Business Improvement Area Bylaw number 599, 2021.
There's a seconder for that recommendation. Seconded? All those in favor? Thank you. So moving on to item 8.1B, which is the actual bylaw. So we'd be looking at giving first, second, and third reading. So this is District of Seashell Bylaw number 599, 2021, a bylaw to establish and designate a business improvement area. And I'd look for someone to move first reading. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Then again, we've got District of Seashell Bylaw number 599, 2021, a bylaw to establish and designate a business improvement area. Looking for a second reading. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And District of Seashell Bylaw number 599, 2021, a bylaw to establish and designate a business improvement area, and I'd look for someone to move third reading. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you very much. All right, staff, you have your marching orders. Thank you. Moving on, item 8.2A. This is road naming bylaw number 600, 2021, Grizzly Lane for adoption. And over to staff. Mr. Allen? Thank you.
Also muted. Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Seegers. And on behalf of the report author who's unable to attend tonight, I'd like to bring your attention to this one. It was considered for 3 readings in September, and if adopted tonight, this 61 meters of unnamed lane would then be called Grizzly Lane. And staff do recommend that council adopt this bylaw and we can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess one of the questions we have, did we hear anything from anybody in the community about this?
I am unaware. I know that the property owners who've made the request are keen to receive approval, but I haven't heard of any other comment.
Okay, thank you. Council, how would you like to proceed? Any questions, comments, or Councillor McLean?
I'll move recommendation 2, that council adopt road naming bylaw number 600, 2021, Grizzly Lane.
And is there a seconder for the recommendation? Seconded? All those in favor? Thank you. We'll move on to the bylaw, 8.2B on page 60. District of Seashell bylaw number 600, 2021, a bylaw to name a certain road within the District of Seashell, Grizzly Lane. I'd look for someone to move adoption. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you very much. They can go make some signs. Moving on to item 8.3A. This is rezoning for 5638 Inlet Avenue, Sunshine Coast Community Services. Moving over to staff.
Thank you. I don't have a presentation for this item tonight. It's a straightforward adoption of the previously considered zoning amendment bylaw to enable the Sunshine Coast Community Services development on Inlet Road. A condition of adoption was registration of covenants to secure lane upgrades, dedication, and step 3 energy code, as well as some universal design and accessibility guidelines for units. That has been completed. Also, the Ministry of Transportation has given approval for adoption, and that lets council consider adoption tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Council. Councillor Toth, question.
Thank you. It's just a procedural question that I'm sure I know the answer to, but I can't think of it right now, so I'll ask. At the bottom of page 63, within the financial implications, it talks about in the case of nonprofit rental housing, the Director of Planning and Development may consider waiving or reducing DCCs if requested. Is this purely a staff delegated authority, or is there any of that that needs to come to council for decision?
Yes, thank you. I'm pleased to answer that one. And it is an interesting piece in a bylaw because it does leave it to be somewhat subjective, and subjective decisions are typically made by elected officials. So if we draw that comparable to the Green Court application, we were able to clearly identify two of the three categories meeting the definition in the bylaw, and we therefore did endorse waiving of those, but there was the further request for that third category, which we therefore brought to council. But if we can tie it directly to the definition of affordable housing in the development cost charge bylaw, it does give me, the bylaw itself does give me as director the authority to make that decision.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this report? All right, seeing none, there is a recommendation on page 62. Councillor Kuster?
I'll move recommendation 2 that council adopt zoning amendment bylaw number 25-304 2020 SCCSS.
Seconder for the recommendation. Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item 8.3B. This is District of Seashell bylaw number 25-304 2020 Sunshine Coast Community Services, being a bylaw to amend District of Seashell zoning bylaw number 25 in 1987. I'd look for someone to move adoption. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much. Congratulations. We look forward to this project moving forward. Moving on, new business, item 10.1, license to occupy, Redecor and design. And I guess this is back over to Mr. Allen. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Seegers. This is a particular request from the Redecor and design on Cowrie Street to occupy a parking space over the Art Crawl weekend to host a food truck as part of Art Crawl celebrations, yet attempting to make it as COVID friendly as possible. So we looked at this and I took the lens of, okay, how do we support vibrancy downtown? You know, was one of the key considerations. It's not a mobile vendor per the bylaw that intends on being there for the season. It's for a couple of days. So we're treating this almost like it would be a temporary patio use that we've been doing, where somebody can use a parking space with a license of occupation for a defined period of time, and the vendor would then be responsible for their own insurance and so forth. So we're basically, should this be approved, allowing a parking space to be used for a weekend as part of the Art Crawl and so forth. So thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? All right. What would you like to do? There is a recommendation. Councillor McLean?
Yeah, I guess I'll read it. Recommendation 2, that the appropriate license to occupy agreement be entered into with Redecor and design to authorize the temporary use of a portion of the sidewalk and parking stall on Cowrie Street for placement of a mobile food truck as delineated in the license agreement. Further, that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to sign the agreement.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Seconded. Any further comments or questions before we do the vote? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item 10.2. This is the Engineering and Operations Division Capital Project Update. Capital Project Update, sorry. Any questions or comments by council? I have to say, I've been watching with interest the work being done on trail. Now there's green markers on there for the bike path. It's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to having that one complete. Councillor Todd.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to engineering for providing these updates in a written form. It's something, you know, we can refer to, we can forward out to members of our community. So yeah, I drive Trail Avenue every day when I'm home, so I'm looking forward to it being completed as well.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to Wharf too. We get lots of questions about what's happening on Wharf Avenue. When's this moving forward? And I know that there's been a lot of, background work that's being done on this, particularly with Moti. So thank you for that. Council, any other questions or comments? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Moving on to item 10.3. Oh, I guess I'm speaking to this one. This is support for Sunshine Coast Community Action Team Anti-Stigma campaign. So if you've been reading the Coast Reporter, you will have seen the first article that was put in, a first advertisement. It's a half-page advertisement. Many people in the community have a perception around what someone who uses drugs looks like and what their life is like. And what the CAT team is looking to do is to find people in our community who are drug users and present them to the community so that we actually have a more broad view of what that looks like. They are our neighbors. They are our friends who are doing this. So the Community Action Team has reached out to the town of Gibson, the district of Seashell, and requested that we cover off 1 week of advertisements. They're going to do a 6-week spread. First week is done already, and so this has come forward to council here with a request to cover off $633 to cover 1 week of the advertisements that are going in. So I'd be open to answer any questions that you may have. Councillor McLean.
What would be the funding source for this month?
Through the mayor.
One moment.
Through the mayor. Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's advertising that they're asking for. We'd probably put it through our advertising communications budget.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I just have concern about this one in terms of procedural fairness. I look to many community initiatives that we put through our grant and aid process for amounts smaller than this. So yes, this is an important issue. It has value, but we should be using a fair process to fund it. So furthermore, there is a COVID-19 grant deadline of October 18th coming up. So that money, I believe, would fit well with this project. So I question why this project is coming outside of our normal processes. And I would prefer that we use our normal processes to be fair to, and respect all of the other organizations that we do fund here at the District of Seashell.
Thank you. I'd look to our CFO. Would this actually fit under COVID? The COVID Restart Fund?
There are aspects of it that look like it would, yes. It's hitting a segment of our community that is in need. So certainly, yeah.
Okay, and you're saying the deadline for the COVID Restart grant is October 18th?
That is correct.
Okay, so would you like to make a recommendation?
I see Councillor Toth on the speaker list.
Councillor Toth?
Thank you, and thank you, Councillor McLean, for I guess I could be doing this to try and get attention here from far away.
Sorry, it's tough.
It's okay. When I first saw this, I wondered about the funding source as well. I assumed council contingency. I understand Councillor McLean's concerns, And I know that, you know, as the district of Seashell, we participate in the work of the community action team. I think it's the mayor that sits with this group. I'm okay with us supporting this through the council contingency, but I'm not interested in doing it through, you know, general advertising budgets within the municipality. And I don't know that we necessarily need to put them through the COVID granting program, given it's, you know, it's a one-off, it's something that we're already a partner in. Yeah, so there, my thoughts.
Okay, I'm going to go to our CFO to address what you're talking about, funding sources. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have two pots of contingency. One is the general operating contingency and the council contingency. We have spent the majority of the council contingency, so we pull it from the general operating fund contingency.
Okay, so rather than COVID, it would come from the general contingency fund, if that would be your wish. So we have one that would like to suggest COVID restart and one from council contingency. Who's going to be first up? General contingency, sorry. Mr. Lamb. You do that when you're at meetings. You do. So okay. You don't want to speak, Councillor Rowe.
To the mayor, what's the timeline on these ads?
They're running 6 weeks in a row. So the first one went in last week.
Okay.
So
there is potentially time for them to do a grant application and come back to council?
Yes. McLean.
I will make a recommendation that council suggests that the community action team apply to the COVID-19 restart grant.
Is there a seconder for that recommendation? Seconded by a number of people. All right. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Thank you. Moving on, we are at reports from councillors. So given that we have a row here, I'm going to start on my far right with Councillor McLean, Councillor Rowe, Councillor Lamb, Councillor Kuster, and then we'll do Councillor Scott and Councillor Toth. So Councillor McLean, over to you.
Thank you. I've been in lots of discussions with the BC Ferries Ferry Advisory Committee for the Southern Sunshine Coast. The main, obviously talking about various issues, but the main topic of debate right now is hosting a public meeting, something that we have not done in nearly 2 years now. BC Ferries has brought forward a request to host it in Horseshoe Bay, which I have personally opposed because that would limit the public access to people here on the Sunshine Coast. So I wanted to inform council of that approach, and we will wait to see when that public information will come out about a public Ferry Advisory Committee meeting for the first time in a long time. Second point I have is the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society recently did some strategic planning, and they have a new mission statement, and it is available on their website, affordablesc.org.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Nothing for me tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb.
Nothing from me tonight.
Councillor Kuster.
Hello. So I had a few things going on this last few weeks. I attended Youth Advisory Committee and basically started a new school year, and everyone just kind of introduced themselves and kind of find out what's going on with youth, what's happening and what they have seen over this last little bit. And very similar concerns that have been happening since before with the pandemic, especially. There's lots of homelessness with the youth, food insecurity, mental health issues, drug addictions, and so there's lots of good people working on this, and there's lots more that needs to get done to support our youth in our community. A couple other things to note, SFU is doing a study on how students learn. It's for ages 14 to 17, and they're going to do monthly meetings online, and basically go over what motivates kids and hinders them. And whoever participates and signs up will get a gift certificate, $100 gift certificate. So that's really, really good. The nation has some programs going on, soccer nights, art nights, to try to keep their youth involved and busy. The breakfast program has been expanded, and a note that it was difficult to find youth for their summer jobs program this year, probably because of COVID, I'm guessing. And that's kind of that in a nutshell. I attended library board. I did not speak. Mayor Seegers took my place for me. So I'm not going to go into detail on that, but I do want to say, that Leanne is an advocate to increase library funding. She met directly with Minister Josie Osborne and the District of Seashell, and she's just in our community. She's a great advocate for our community and the library. And if you look at her list of programs she puts out every month, like for adults and children, from yoga to book club to family history month, ukulele, you name it. Like, there's tons of things she does, and that's just the program guide, but there is so much more she does, and it's I always am so impressed when I go and see what her passion, right? She's very passionate about all that. And what else was there? APC. I attended APC last night. It was actually really good feedback on the TELUS Living building, so that was really good to see. I'm looking forward to that coming forward. And lastly, September 30th, I just want to say Truth and Reconciliation Day, formerly Orange Shirt Day. I proudly wore my orange shirt. I just want to say it's an important day to reflect, educate, and learn about the cultural genocide that was committed by our Canadian government and the church. And just think about what happened. It wasn't that long ago. It was in my lifetime. The last residential school closed in 1997. So I think it's a good time to reflect. And hopefully this will be a way for people to learn and educate themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Scott?
Nothing to report on my end.
Thank you. Councillor Todd?
Thank you. Other than the community association sort of little budget sessions we've been having here and that APC meeting last night, I haven't really been doing much for council. It has been a couple of weeks since a regular council meeting though, so I don't think we've talked about UBCM. I am separated from my notes, so I'll try and provide some more information at the next council meeting, but there was some good information and some good sessions. It was a virtual platform. It was all streamed and recorded for later so people could review stuff and go back and watch sessions they might have missed. Their keynote speaker was Rick Mercer. He talked a lot about federal politics and also about the toxicity of public participation in politics as of late at all levels. And whether somebody's upset about COVID or zoning or dogs or whatever, it may just be what they're using to vent, and we need to do more to try and get to the sort of the root of what people are upset about, if they are indeed upset with government, or if they're just taking the opportunity to vent because it's common for people to vent on or vent at or dump on elected officials. So it was really interesting. Yeah, not much else to report.
Thank you. I'm going to talk a little bit about UBCM because we haven't in this forum yet. I believe it was around 22 meetings that the three local governments, Gibson's, SCRD, and the District of Seashell, had set up with ministers from the province. And we again took a Sunshine Coast team approach, and we shared our meeting timelines with each other and attended each other's meetings. So it was really good. There were some, I know that the town of Gibson's has posted their meeting information. I believe ours is going up or is up, and the regional districts will be going up as well. So you'll be able to see who we spoke with, what topics we brought to them, and what kind of feedback we got. One of the topics that we took forward with regards to medical cannabis, we were looking to have the province work with us and the federal government, and this was written up in the paper already. The information went to the Coast Reporter. I actually did an article or an interview today with a cannabis magazine, which will be going across Canada, and we will be doing more work with the various governments in BC and across the country to take this to the assessment of the federal law that's in place. It is up for renewal. Like, they have to look at it after 3 years, so that's what's happening right now. So it's good timing around that. One of the things that I was really impressed with that came up in the meetings that we had with the ministers, as we all know, issues that we're having around opioids, homelessness, mental health and addictions, they aren't, while they are in one ministry at the province, it's not something that can be resolved by one ministry. So we were actually informed in one of the meetings that the provincial government has actually set up a table where the various ministers are coming together to discuss the issues and looking for solutions. But then they've also set up a table for their staff to get together, and the staff are getting together more frequently to look at coming up with solutions that are dealt with by all the ministries together. And I think we all recognize that it's not going to be something that's resolved by one ministry alone. So that's really good to see. And we actually saw an example of that in some of the meetings we had, where it wasn't just one minister that came to a meeting. If it was a topic that covered a number of different ministries, they actually all came, all those ministers. We had one meeting with 3 ministers and one meeting with 2 ministers. Never happened before. So that was really good to see. I found UBCM was really good. There were some really good sessions this time. I think last year they got kind of thrown into doing it virtually, and we all didn't really enjoy the experience. This year they did a much better job of it, and the sessions were really good. So I will be going back and looking at some of the others. I can see that people in the community are starting to come out from their 4 walls in their house. Lots of events starting to happen. I attended the skate park reopening. I'd like to thank the Rotary for taking the lead on that, and our staff for the work that they did there. The event was pretty phenomenal. There were older people, and there were little kids on their little trikes, and there was even one kid just on one of those bikes that you just have to push with your feet, and they were going all over. It was lots of people there in the afternoon, some music, everybody had fun. It was great to see. The community forest did their wood expo. What they did was they raffled off, or they had tickets. You could put your name in for some firewood. So they drew at the end of the day and gave a big bin of firewood away. So that was pretty cool. I represented the district of Seashell at the West Seashell Elementary School reopening, and I got a cupcake at the end. It was really nice. One of the events, and you probably saw it in the paper, was the Clayton family gave back a basket that they had been presented with years and years and years ago. They gave it back to the Senko Museum. And it was acknowledged that part of reconciliation is also repatriating some of the items that have gone out into the community. I attended the Electric Vehicle Festival, Oktoberfest briefly, and then I had the opportunity to launch Active Transportation Weeks here in the District of Seashell. And staff had set up a bike route where we rode the routes that we've gotten the funding for to put in our active transportation network, from the Municipal Hall up to Kinnikinnick Park and back down the other side. We came across Derby and back into downtown. So it was about 9 kilometers. I think the funny part about that was it was to start at 11 o'clock, and we were to meet outside of Municipal Hall. So I was out the doors on the right side here by Municipal Hall. And it's 10 to 11, and I'm there by myself. And about 5 to 11, another fellow showed up, and nobody else was there. So I thought, okay, this is going to be really small. And I wasn't totally 100% sure of the route. The staff know it, but I've never done some of this route before. And then one of our planners came around the corner and said, we're on the other side of the building. So I went over there, and there were 16. So we ended up with 16 of us doing the route. So it was really kind of cool. It was a lot of fun. And I learned stuff from the other people who were riding. They told me there's actually a Facebook group of electric bike owners on the Sunshine Coast, and you can join up, and they post when they're going for rides if you want to join up. So there's all kinds of things happening out there that we're not necessarily aware of. This week, I attended the Lower Mainland District RCMP Mayor's Forum. A couple of things that have come out of that, and I've actually sent the information to Council and to staff. The RCMP have signed a union agreement, like they've ratified their union contract. They are settling. They have not had a contract for wage increases or wages since 2016. So all municipalities in the province who pay into the RCMP, we've known ahead of time that we've had to put money aside, and we have done that in the district of Seashell. We should know by the end of the month, approximately the end of the month, they're anticipating how much our contribution will be for back pay for the RCMP. One of the things they indicated was that in years past, the RCMP were one of the top paid police forces in the country. Over the years, they've slipped down and down and down. And so that is one of the contributing factors to actually not having members joining the RCMP and coming forward. So this collective agreement will take them into 2023, I believe is the number, and they will start, as soon as they've got this settled, they will start on the next one. This will not put them at the top, but it will bring them closer so that they will start hopefully attracting more members. The other piece that was talked about is the fact that Surrey, which is the largest police force in the country, they have 853 full-time employees. It has been approved that they will go to their own police force. And so there will be financial implications for them taking that. Also on staffing. One of the mayors on there, from North Van, I believe it was, indicated that 5 of their top people in the RCMP force there are moving to Surrey. Now, some of that is because they live down there. They live in that area, and they've been working up in North Van. They are staggering those out over 6 months, but there will be an impact. Don't know yet what the impact will be financially, and more information will be coming out on that going forward. So lots of information there. I forwarded out to Council and to staff. Please read that. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And then one final thing I wanted to mention. I noticed Director McMahon is in our gallery, and Director McMahon is teaching a course at Elder College. It's a 4-week course. She did the first week, and each week she has others, like guest speakers kind of thing, for questions, etc. I love the title of her course. It's called A Highly Opinionated View of Regional Districts. So lots of great statistics that she's put in there, but also her views on what works and what doesn't work. So it's a lot of fun. This last week, Chair Pratt and I were her guest speakers, and one of the questions she asked us was, what's the difference between a municipal director and a regional district director, like an electoral area director? So it actually had me think about some of the things that are different for us and for them. And I would say probably the biggest difference that I see is around the funding and the budgeting, in that we have a budget, and it's basically one pot, and it's not like that at the regional district at all. There are 45 different functions, and many of those have capital and operating line items. And so the budget, one service can, I think she mentioned the smallest was something like $250 or something like that per year. And that's for some street lights on a street. So it is quite different, and it takes some getting used to. That's all I have. I wanted to mention a couple of things upcoming. the Minister of Municipal Affairs is starting the calls again. So the monthly calls, the first one will be next week, and this will be her guest this week, or this time will be the new president of UBCM. And then our arts festival, Seashell Arts Festival, starts on October 9th. There are some great sessions. Check them out. Make sure you get by the Seaside Center and look at what they put up there. A lot of work goes into this. It's a lot of fun, involves a lot of people in the community. Great event. Look forward to seeing you there. Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I forgot a couple things. So I just wanted to touch on a couple things from UBCM that I noted. I attended one session on shared RD services, and I took a note from Powell River and their social planning program. And I note that the funding model for that was interesting in that it is a service offered by the city of Powell River that is contracted out to the nation there and the RD. So I think that's a really interesting model for collaboration because like Mayor Seegers said, municipalities have a little more flexibility in what they can do. So that contract model is something that can be really good for collaboration. I attended a session on resilient communities. Minister Farnworth mentioned there that there's going to be 3 more rounds of community resiliency funding. I know that the SCRD has got a couple grants for that, and we can expect more coming out. And just a small note, I noted that some communities use their community forest to create a wildfire buffer around their communities. So I think that's something that the SCRD and the community forest are looking at right now through one of those grants. But I look forward to seeing more on that. And then I also attended a Housing Action Table Committee meeting a couple weeks ago. I want to note that their progress has been stalled over the summer due to obtaining funding from the OAP, which is funds from Airbnbs to that the Airbnbs contribute a portion of their funds towards Sunshine Coast Tourism. So they needed to sort out this funding between Sunshine Coast Tourism, the SCRD, and Destination BC. That took a while, but it looks like it's moving. It's been resolved, and that they should be going out to a contract soon to actually have somebody to support this group. And that will be a huge step in the right direction and help really catalyze a lot of this work. There is also Cover the Coast will be providing some nice information about their landlord survey that they did a while ago. So that's going to be really valuable. That should be out in the next couple of weeks. And there's also a participation agreement that they have proposed that I will be bringing back to council at a future date.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who has something else they needed to report? All right. SCRD report from Councillor Toth. It is in our agenda. Is there anything you want to speak to, Councillor Toth?
Well, I take this opportunity to mention that I forgot to mention that I opened the EV festival since the mayor was out hosting a bike ride that morning. So that was fun. It's always interesting to see what's out there and the rapid adoption of electric vehicles here on the Sunshine Coast. Yeah, my report is in the agenda. I don't have much to add. I've been experimenting with the layout a little bit here. I used to be breaking it out meeting by meeting, and I'm just sort of grouping it all together now. The one thing I did want to sort of highlight was that in the second page of my report, we've invited Premier Horgan to attend the SCRD so we can have a direct dialogue about Sunshine Coast issues, our water supply, cross-ministry collaboration, things like that. So we'll see, hoping, but not getting too excited about it yet. So we'll see. A little bit of a water update there at the end, a little bit of a budget update at the end as well, because we're starting the 2022 budget engagement with the community. So happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions for Councillor Toth? Councillor McLean.
I just wanted to highlight the downstream flooding analysis of the Chapman Edwards McNeil and Harris watersheds. I think the discussion on Chapman is going to be really important to Seashell residents, particularly in the Silcombe neighborhood. Chapman Creek used to have a different route. We built over it. We know it's a floodplain. What is the risk there? That's going to be incredibly valuable to have a better understanding of.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's move on to council correspondence. Number 1 is included in our agenda. I'd like to look at number 2. This is in response to our meeting with the Honorable Katrina Chen with regards to childcare. She sent a letter indicating that there is a new opportunity opening up for Sunshine Coast, for childcare BC New Spaces Fund. We did apply to that once before. It was a very short intake. We did put an application together. We were not successful. What we'd like to do is apply again. In order to do that, we need to spend a little bit of funds to go back and rework the architectural design and then also look at the project budget. So I have a recommendation, and I'll read this out, and staff have this already. So this is that in accordance with actions recommended in the 2020 Sunshine Coast Childcare Action Plan, staff be directed to submit an application to the 2021 Childcare BC New Spaces Fund with the following objectives: securing funding to design and construct a District of Seashell-owned childcare facility, creating the maximum number of new spaces possible for the funding available, and that up to $12,000 from the general operating funding contingency be allocated to the preparation of the grant application, including professional services for preliminary architectural designs and consultation on project budget. What we did in preparation for this, staff actually followed up with the granting staff to find out why weren't we successful, and then also actually reached out to some of the places that were successful. So we're looking to bring that information together, and hopefully we'll be successful in obtaining funding for a new daycare in Seashell. Funding again is up to $3 million, 100% funding. All right, so I'd like to make that recommendation. Is there anybody who'd like to second that for discussion? Seconded? Any comments or questions? Councillor Toth.
Just a quick one. I'm curious to know where the $12,000 number was arrived at.
Did you want to speak to that, or do you want, sorry, just looking at staff here.
Thank you. Through the Mayor, Councillor Toth, it's Carrie Ann Polson, Acting Communications Manager. I apologize, I don't have a camera set up and ready to go for this evening. The documentation required to submit the grant application is basically looking for a shovel-ready project. So we're going to need some fairly detailed architectural designs as well as the quantity surveyor costing for the design build for the project. In addition, we'll be able to estimate some of the off-site services through our own internal staff, but some of those, we will need consultants to provide some of that information. So we've received 2 quotes from architects on the preliminary design work, and then the quantity surveying is billed hourly as well. So we've just projected that estimate based on those quotes we've received.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor McLean.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable making a financial decision on the spot, so I'd like to make a motion to defer this motion to the next council meeting.
Okay, I understand that. There's a motion on the floor first that we have to deal with. I understand your concern. The reason this came forward now is, again, because of the timeline. In order to actually get the work done in time to submit an application, deadline is?
Through the chair, November 16th.
Right, so November 16th. So if we waited till October 26th, we would not have sufficient time to get the work done and get an application in for November 16th. 27th is the next council meeting. 20th, sorry, October 20th. Yes, Carrie Ann?
Thank you, Your Worship. I can provide a little more detail on that as well. At least one of the architects that provided a quote said that they require 2 to 3 weeks lead time to complete the architectural portion. We need those drawings before we can go to the quantity surveyors. The quantity surveyors also have a backlog to fill. I'm not even sure on the timeline that we have today if we would be able to meet that. And with the timeliness of the correspondence that we've received, this is the first meeting we've been able to get it on an agenda, unfortunately.
Any other questions or comments about that? Okay, so the recommendation is on the floor. All those in favor? Any opposed? And would you like that recorded? Thank you. You've got that? Thank you. Okay. Any other items in the council correspondence that you'd like to address or discuss or comment on? Okay, sorry, I'm just gonna. Okay, I'm just going to give you half a second to go through that. Councillor Toth?
Thank you. I just wanted to flag for attention item number 5. It is just an informational letter from the chamber, sort of the things that they've been doing in advocacy over the years, and yeah, their concerns. I don't know what, if anything, we can do to alleviate their perceived concerns, but I think that we engage with them when appropriate and as appropriate.
Okay, would you like a letter to go back to them? How would you like it dealt with? Councillor Lamb, you sit on that board. Would you like to, do you have any suggestions? Okay, Councillor Toth, did you want to make a suggestion? I am meeting with the chamber as well on tomorrow, actually. Perhaps
Then
offline
I'm
we could
happy
talk about
to, yeah, I'm happy to leave it until after you've talked to them. You know, maybe we can invite them to come be a delegation and we can have a little more direct conversation with them. I know they've appeared as a delegation to the SCRD. I don't recall having seen them as a delegation here, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. I can bring that up with them tomorrow. Anything further from the correspondence? Councillor McLean?
I want to jump in on the chamber letter quickly. I recognize that there's a lot of, I gather that the chamber is not pleased with our direction, but I think I do appreciate that they have brought these ideas forward. That is a really valuable role. We need these ideas. I encourage them to continue to bring stuff forward. The chamber has a valuable role in our community, and we have heard every single one of these letters. We have considered them, and we're not able to take action on all of them. That's the realities, but I do appreciate the chamber putting this letter together, outlining what they've done, holding themselves accountable to their members. So I think this is great and encourage them to keep on going.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further questions or comments on the council correspondence, do we have any emergency items?
No, Your Worship.
Thank you. I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you.